Okay, hello everybody, and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this Biggerplate webinar. My name is Liam Hughes. I'm the founder of Biggerplate.com, and I'm going to be walking you through today a brief introduction to mind mapping with Xmind, which is the software you see on the screen right now. Now, I'm not going to keep my video on the whole time because there's not really much benefit to that, but I just wanted to show my face, say hello, and assure you that this is live. This isn't pre-recorded, so please do, of course, pop any questions, comments, feedback, or general thoughts you might have into the chat or the comments section here on the Hop In page, and I will do my best as we go through the session to try and just pick up some of those comments, answer some of those questions wherever possible. So I'm just going to flick my screen off in just a moment, but please do let us also know where you're joining from today. Use the comment section again to just let us know where you are in the world, and of course, if you've joined the webinar to learn anything specific about Xmind or mind mapping, then it's really useful for me to know those kind of things up front, and then I can try to make sure I tick off the relevant items as we go through the session. So we've got about 60 minutes together. If I finish before that, then obviously that's great, but obviously I'll go right up to that 60 minutes, but not beyond. So get your questions in as early as possible on your comments, and that way I've got plenty of time to deal with them. So let me just hide myself, so you've just got an uninterrupted view, hopefully, of an Xmind map. It's always useful for me to just know as well, if you can just let me know that you can hear the sound all right and see the screen all right. It's just me working by myself today, joining you live from Mexico City, which means I've got nobody to tell me whether there's anything showing or not showing or being correctly done. So let's jump into our mind map now and get straight into our content. So as it says up here, we're welcome, but what we're going to do today is, for those of you who are new to mind mapping, this is an Xmind map here on the screen in front of you, and we're going to work clockwise around the mind map, starting here with welcome, going to a little bit about Xmind, looking at some core features, and then looking at examples of work, study, and home mind maps, finishing, as you might expect, up here with conclusion. So working and reading mind maps clockwise, again, for those of you who are new to mind mapping, is a pretty good principle, and you'll see on biggerplate.com probably 90% or more of the mind maps that have been created and shared there are working with that kind of clockwise reading and writing sort of approach. So a good reference point if you're new to mind mapping there. So let's dive straight into our content here and open up some of our content. So first and foremost, my name is Liam. As I say, I'm the founder of Biggerplate.com. Biggerplate started in 2008. For those of you who'd like to follow up with me, any questions, feedback, or comments about this session, Xmind, or Biggerplate in general, please do feel free to email me there at liam@biggerplate.com, and I shall do my best to get back to you. You can also connect with me directly on LinkedIn if you're a LinkedIn user. That's my LinkedIn address there on the screen, but obviously if you just search Liam Hughes and look for the mind mapping guy, you'll probably find me up there as well. So a little bit of information about biggerplate.com for those of you who are unfamiliar with us. Our mission, and really what we've been trying to do since 2008, is to help people go further with mind mapping. We do that by providing a huge range of resources at biggerplate.com, including mind map templates and examples, courses for your software such as Xmind, numerous live events, virtual events, as well as videos and training and consultancy services, all with the goal of helping people to go further in their work, their study, and life in general with a little bit of help from mind mapping. A very important thing for you to just be aware of in regards to Biggerplate is we are software neutral. We are independent of mind mapping software products. We don't make any software and we don't sell any software. We are neutral, we're independent, and that means we can give you an honest, neutral perspective on the world of mind mapping software, and hopefully that means you can take a little bit of learning from us without worrying about the fact that we might be trying to sell you some software. We are not. However, what you might be interested to buy is our Biggerplate Pro membership. So if you're interested in joining Biggerplate Pro and getting more resources to help you go further with mind mapping, there's a code on the screen right now, XM21922. And if you use that on biggerplate.com, that will save you 25% on our Pro membership. That code is going to expire on the 30th of September, just for security reasons. So if you want to take advantage of that offer, now would be the time to do it. And as it says here, always a good idea to just take a quick screenshot so you don't miss out on that code and that special offer. So this webinar today, what are we doing and what we're going to try and cover? Well, what we're going to try to cover is a little bit about Xmind, why we think it's very good software and why hopefully you might enjoy using it. I'm going to try and show you just some of the core features. There's a lot that you can do with Xmind. I'm just going to concentrate on the essential features that really are going to help you get started with this great software. And really, this is the kind of features that we think are most important to help you get the most out of mind mapping techniques. I'm going to look, after looking at some features, we're going to look at 3 sort of use cases, if you like. We're going to look at how you might use mind mapping in your work, for studying, and at home. Lots of overlap between those, but hopefully it can just let you see what's possible. A couple of things just to say, we're not going to be covering anything to do with the sales or pricing of Xmind. As I said earlier, we don't sell Xmind, so we're not going to start talking to you about pricing, discounts, enterprise, academic, nothing to do with sales and pricing. And also, we're not really here to do tech support for Xmind. We don't make the software, and we're not here to help you if maybe you're having problems with your Xmind licenses or installations or any of these things. That's unfortunately well outside of our remit to help with. So we're not going to be talking about sales, pricing, or tech support, but I'm hoping if you've got questions or comments as I go through this content today, that I might be able to at least give you some basic advice and some help regarding using Xmind in your work, your studies, or at home, and the world of mind mapping software in general, if Xmind perhaps is one of many programs that you're considering or evaluating as you look to involve mind mapping in your world. So I'm just going to jump very quickly to my screen and check for any questions or comments. Can't see any questions or comments in at the moment, so I'm going to jump right ahead with our first section, which is a little bit of information about Xmind. So again, just to reiterate, Xmind is a totally separate company from Biggerplate, but we have been partners with Xmind since 2011. We actually celebrated 10 years of partnership with the team at Xmind last year. Really a great company for us to have been working with for so long. We love the Xmind product, and there's a great business behind it. So we're very proud to be partners with Xmind, but again, to reiterate, we are totally independent of Xmind as a company. 3 reasons why we really like and recommend Xmind for people, particularly for new mind mappers, is you can get started with Xmind for free, and that makes it perfect for people who are new to mind mapping. It means it's great for experimentation. You can play around with a really rich free product without having to worry about trial periods ending or anything like that. And obviously, if you want the full-featured Xmind software, you can upgrade for all of those features. But the fantastic thing with Xmind is they give a really fantastic free version of their software away. For an unlimited period of time, so you can use the free version forever if you wanted to, and that's a real unique thing about Xmind, and that's why we so often recommend it for people if they're new to mind mapping and they're still wanting to try and figure out how mind mapping might fit with their life. So you can get started for free, and as you'll hopefully see on the screen today, it's very simple and easy to use. You've got really simple menus in Xmind. You can just see up here at the top. It's really simple, self-explanatory. You don't have to go into loads and loads of menu options to do basic things. It's very easy to start, and as you'll see through the maps we use today, you've got a really nice creative visual style in Xmind. It's a really vibrant, creative looking style of mind maps that lots of people really like for sort of harnessing and reflecting, if you like, their own creative style. Finally, a thing that lots of people really find very helpful around Xmind, particularly in this age we're in now, is Xmind is one of very few actually mind mapping software products that has a full cross-platform offering. You can use pretty much anything you like, and you're going to be able to use Xmind, whether you're a Windows, Mac, Android, iPad, whatever it is. Xmind is one of very few mind mapping software companies who've really got a full cross-platform offering for you, and that means you can kind of pick your maps up in Windows and move them across onto your iPad if you like, and then pick them up in the web if you so choose. Now, again, I'm not going to go too into the details of that. That's more for the company Xmind to answer if you have questions there. But great thing is you've got options there across whatever types of device and platform you're using. So let's take a look at some of the good stuff then. Let's take a look at some of the core features of Xmind. And really what we're talking about here are core features to help you with mind mapping. That's what Biggerplate is about. We're helping people to go further with mind mapping. And there's a lot you can do in Xmind, as I say, but what we're going to focus on here is just some basics. I'm going to show you how you can do basic map building with Xmind. I'm going to show you how you can make those maps a little bit more visual using the software. And I'm going to show you how Xmind has some really fantastic features to help you really embed a lot of extra information into your mind maps without making them overwhelming or hard to work with. So let's start with the basics and look at map building. So first and foremost, we would maybe want to be adding topics into a new mind map. And that's as simple in Xmind as using the insert or the tab key on your keyboard to go outwards in the map, or the enter return keys on your keyboard to go down. So what I mean by that is we might use the insert key here to go outwards, and then I might use the enter key on my keyboard to go downwards. And you'll see here I can just click on any topic and go return, enter, or insert, tab, return, enter. So very quickly, using just the return and the insert keys, I can build out this branch structure, as we call it, in the mind map. And you'll hear the words branch used quite often around mind mapping, and that's really because you can think of mind maps as a bit of a kind of tree structure, if you like. So each one of these is a topic on a branch. So you've got this kind of nice tree structure where everything breaks down into smaller pieces, but the process of building that basic structure can be as simple as just using insert and tab on your computer, on your keyboard. You can, if you want, use these little buttons up here to add a topic or a subtopic. Personally, I find that a little bit less efficient than just using my keyboard, but if you want to be just using your mouse maybe up here, you can do that. And of course, as we add any topic, we simply type our information as we go, click onto any topic and add more depth. Then you might change here and change 1 and change 2. So editing topics as well, very simple in Xmind, just click and start typing. So easy to go back and change what you've done. Now, one of the most powerful aspects of mind mapping is not actually just the building of a branch structure, but it's the moving and the reordering of that branch structure, which enables you to really play around and experiment with what belongs together and what's the most logical way to order things and organize things. Now, within Xmind, it's very easy to move either a single topic. So, for example, we could move this topic just grabbing it with our mouse. You'll see this kind of blue line that appears. That's Xmind telling us where the topic is going to attach when I release my mouse. So if I release the mouse there, you'll see that single topic has gone there. If I click on that, hold my mouse again, I can bring that back down to where it was before. I can also move multiple topics at once in Xmind. So for example, I can use my left mouse button, just drag across 2 topics at a time, and then click and drag both of those. And again, that little blue thing is going to show us where it's going to land. I release my mouse and both of those topics go where we wanted to there. Again, can just move them back nice and easy. So we can move single topics, multiple topics, but also we can move an entire branch. You don't just have to be moving the topics that are on the very ends of the branch. You can move an entire branch themselves. So for example, we could move this entire move and reorder branch right up to this top level if we wanted, and make it a primary main topic in the map. Or if we wanted, we might say, actually, we think that belongs before there, or let's move it back to where it was. So the ability to just move information around the mind map, move, reorder, and recategorize, if you like, your topics and say, actually, I think these are subtopics of this one, or move back as we wish, is a really simple but one of the most powerful functions of mind mapping software. It enables you to figure out where things fit best. What batches and categories can you see in the information and the ideas you've captured in the mind map? So adding topics in and then moving them around until they look to be in the most logical structure is one of the most powerful things in Xmind software. And that moving and reordering also means you've got something very, very adaptable. As your mind maps start to build, it's obviously going to be quite important that you can navigate your way around them. So there's a few quick tips to show you here. The first is, as a general rule, it's a good idea to kind of use the show and hide feature in Xmind to just hide information when you're not really looking at it or needing it. And you can see if we click any topic here with subtopics, you'll see this little symbol here. And if I click that, it just means we hide that section of the branch, just in the same way that our About Xmind section is hidden here. If we click on this number, that's going to unfold or show all of those topics that we looked at before. But it's a good idea to avoid your mind map sort of becoming overwhelming, to always sort of hide information if you're not working with it right now. So to quickly show and hide information is a great way to keep your focus in your mind map in the right areas when you want to. Another way of moving around your mind maps is what I call a map grab. I'm not sure what it's officially called, but that's what I've always called it. And that just is where you can just use your mouse on the map to just right click and pull the mind map like a canvas around as you need. And that makes it very easy to just navigate around even as the mind maps get very large. Likewise, as maps get large, zooming in and out is also going to be important. And one of the core benefits of mind maps as a diagram is the ability to see both the whole big picture as well as the small details. And zooming is integral to that. For example, at the moment, we're zoomed right in on this little detailed topic here about zooming. But using just my keyboard, I can hit Control and minus and zoom out a bit. Or I can also use the feature down here in Xmind to say, fit the entire map into my screen as it is here. And that's where I can now see the whole picture. And I can also see kind of where I am in that flow. I can see in the whole diagram where I've reached up. But of course, I can just zoom straight back in on that individual piece of detail in my mind map. Really, really handy as your maps get big and maybe your maps contain a lot of information. To zoom in and out and be able to grab and move your way around the map easily is very important. And again, Xmind makes it very easy to do that. So after we've built some basic mind map structure, what we might want to start doing is making our mind maps a little bit more visual. Now, people always talk about mind mapping as a visual technique. I actually like to think of it more as a spatial technique, and that's really all about this section up here, map building. It's about seeing where information relates to each other in terms of how it's spatially organized. But when we talk about visual, what most people are thinking about is things like these images, they're thinking about these colorful branches, and they're thinking about these little icons on the software here. So let's take a look at some of those options. So when it comes to formatting topics or branches in mind maps, Xmind gives us loads of great options, and we can just pop open this formatting panel over here. And I'm not going to go into every aspect of it because there's a lot here, but you'll see if I click on any specific topic, I can edit aspects of that topic. For example, I can change the fill color to something. I can edit the text if I like to be bigger, bolder, a different color. Lots of different formatting options here to really make my information, my ideas, my mind maps look however I want them to. We can also apply changes to the entire branch structure. Remember, we've got topics on branches. So if we want to change the entire branch, we can click somewhere up the branch structure and say, let's change this whole branch perhaps to this purple color. And you'll see that then applies a change right the way down the branch structure. So Xmind gives you lots of nice options here to format the information within your mind maps and make the topics and the branches really personal to you. And you can use colors maybe just to make the mind maps look nice, but some people will use colors in the mind map to actually signal certain information in different things. So for example, you might use red text to signify if something is a problem or an issue. You might use green branches to signify if something is going positive. So you can use colors and there's formatting options in Xmind to really personalize and codify the information in your mind maps. Similarly, we can use icons, images, and markers in Xmind to really, again, help add some clarity to our mind maps. Now, there's two ways you can come at the images in your mind map. So you'll see, for example, we've got an image here on our main topic about core features. Well, we've got two ways to add images into our mind maps. The first, and possibly the way that I kind of quite like the most, is using the stickers function in Xmind. So, for example, we can come up here to say Insert, and then we can just scroll down here to stickers, and it's going to open up this nice little library of images that are inbuilt into the Xmind library. And that just means we can very quickly add just a little bit of a kind of creative style into our mind maps. I tend to suggest people only use images to add value. Don't just add images all over the mind maps for the sake of it, but really try and use those images to add clarity. You'll notice, for example, I tend to only use images on these main topic in those main topics to really make them sort of stand out. But of course, you can use images wherever you like in your mind map. And once you've added them, you can even format those images. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, whatever you need. So the sticker library within Xmind is a great way to add some visual interest to your maps. But of course, if you've got images of your own, maybe on your computer, perhaps diagrams or visuals that you want to bring in from your own image library, you can also say to insert up here, and then we can choose a local image. So that's going to open up just a file explorer on your computer. And if I say go to my desktop, I know I've got a little image saved there. And you'll see how that's then just pulling in an image from my computer. So we're not using the Xmind library of stickers anymore. We're just pulling in images from our own image library. That could be a photo of your holiday. It could be a graph from your business presentation. It could be a diagram from your studying homework, whatever it is. So being able to pull in both local images and this nice sticker library from Xmind is a great way to bring that visual interest into your work. A different type of image that you can use in Xmind is markers, and markers are a good way of kind of codifying information. So for example, we might use markers to identify something as a priority issue. We might use markers to indicate completion of a task or a project, or we might just use markers to highlight something for a particular reason. So markers can be accessed straight away from up here. You'll see there's again, a very simple menu, just says markers. And we've got lots of different options here in Xmind. So as I said, we could use a priority marker. And for example, we might mark 1 or 2 or 3 different things as priority 1, and we could mark some other things as priority 2 and other things as priority 3. Now that's not particularly meaningful on this map, but you can maybe imagine how you could use that to highlight certain priority issues in perhaps a project planning session, or perhaps in your studying, you might use some of these markers to highlight the topics that you think are most important for an upcoming exam. So I'm just going to remove these markers so we don't confuse ourselves later on. We could also use markers in the software to highlight completion. So you see we've got a little task section here, and we can put in a little task start button. And then as we move, maybe make progress on that task, if I click that, I can actually highlight perhaps that I'm halfway through it, and maybe I'm nearly finished, and then perhaps, hopefully, towards the end, I'm done. Now again, in this map, not particularly exciting, but you might start to see how you might have a priority 1 task with a completion icon that maybe shows you're halfway through your priority 1 task. Another type of icon we might use is just something to highlight or flag perhaps something that's a big issue or something that's come up that's unusual. And you could use any one of these kind of different icons. You might use the red flag to illustrate this is a problem. You might use a green star to highlight maybe something is a great opportunity. So you've got options using the markers to really highlight certain topics within your mind map for extra attention, and use that marker functionality to really make certain information stand out. So we've used the icons and markers. What else could we do in our mind maps to make the information we're working with a little bit more visual and help certain information stand out or become clearer? Well, another very simple, very essential function in mind mapping software is to create relationship lines between topics in the mind map. Xmind, once again, makes this very easy for you to do. So let's say, for example, we had some information perhaps up here in cross-platform that we think is really related to this topic down here in this section of the mind map, but obviously they're in different parts of the tree structure. Well, we can click on one topic and then click here to relationship, and what Xmind gives us is this line that we can then click and attach to another topic. We can also label the connection and explain why there's a connection here. So this is a really nice way of just making nice visually clear the connections between information that might be in different areas in the mind map. We can also format that line. We can format that over here. You see you've got lots of different options here. We can change the color of that line, maybe a green line to represent something's positive, or you might use a red line to illustrate perhaps a negative impact. And we can change both the start and end points to illustrate perhaps a two-way dynamic rather than a one-way dynamic. So you've got lots of options here with relationship lines. It's a good piece of advice to generally try and avoid having too many lines like this in a mind map. Otherwise, it can actually add confusion rather than clarity. But relationship lines are a really good way of highlighting links and connections between two pieces of information in the mind map. It's worth mentioning also that once you've added a relationship line, if you decide actually you want to reconnect it somewhere else, we can just drag that line. And again, just use these little control points to shape it if we want to, and just make sure, again, that the line we've added is adding clarity rather than confusion and attaching to the right piece of information. So that's relationship lines, another visual tool we've got within the Xmind software. I'm just going to delete that just so we don't have that in our way for the moment. And lastly, let's look at boundaries as another type of sort of visual signal that we can put into our mind maps. Now, a boundary is a way of sort of wrapping around a set or really a branch section in your mind map. So for example, in this section here, we've got quite a lot of stuff, but we might decide that we want to make this visual working branch really stand out. So we might put a boundary around all of this information. So what I do here is just select the sort of highest point in the branch where I want the boundary to start, and then click up here, as you might expect, boundary. And all it does here is put a really nice, very visual signal around that particular area. So everything is contained within that boundary. And you'll see very nicely as I collapse or hide that information, the boundary shrinks with it. What you can also do within the boundary is even add a label. So for example, we might say this is the critical information. So we highlight critical information using this boundary structure within the software. Once again, Xmind is going to give you lots of formatting options over here. If you open up that formatting panel, you'll see it's already switched to give you the formatting options for your boundary, and we can very quickly edit that boundary to make it stand out in whatever way we want. So formatting individual topics and branches using images and markers in the software. And then if you want to go in that extra step with relationship lines and boundaries, is the way you can really make your information and your ideas nice and visual in the Xmind software. And really this is very basic core functionality that Xmind does really very well. Finally, in terms of those core features, I find kind of 3 features I just want to highlight for you. This is perhaps really important information when you're starting to deal with more information in your mind maps and you are trying to handle a lot of maybe data information or extra information that you want to pull together, but you want to avoid your mind maps becoming unwieldy or unmanageable. So Xmind has 3 really great features in the program that are going to help you to bring in lots of extra information without cluttering up your mind map. So first of all, hyperlinks help you link to websites or to local files on your computer. So for example, if you maybe were preparing a business plan, possibly with some competitor analysis, you might have found some websites that you want to keep in your competitor analysis mind map. So what you can say here is I want to insert a link, and you see here it gives you lots of options, but the ones we're interested in for the moment are web page. And then I could say, for example, let's keep a link to www.biggerplate.com. Save that, and you see Xmind just gives me this little icon here that tells me I've saved a hyperlink in my map. And if I click that, it's going to take me straight away to the biggerplate.com website. But you can use the hyperlinks feature to take you to very specific web pages. So you could be really in the depths of a website, and whatever link you copy and paste in the URL, you can save into your mind map here. So it's great if you're doing research, maybe if you're researching for a written assignment and you've got lots of references from journals, from websites, from wherever it is, just pull them into your mind maps, and then you've got a really nice little signal here from Xmind to tell you, and click that and you'll be taken straight to that destination website. Also within the hyperlinks feature, we could link to files on our computer, and you'll see we're going to use this in a little bit when I show you some of the demonstration apps. So we can link to other files on our computer. So perhaps you're building up a project plan and you want to link to perhaps a PDF or a different document that's on your computer. So you can just say insert a link to that file. And you see the symbol here is slightly different. It's telling you this is a file rather than a website. But once again, the principle is if I click that link, it's going to pop open whatever file that is that I've saved onto my computer. So the map becomes a really great reference point for you to share and show all of the key information that you need in one place. You can pull all of the core information and the files and the websites into one place using that hyperlinks functionality. An additional piece of additional function within Xmind, if you want to start adding a lot more depth and detail into your mind map, is the notes feature. So notes can be added to any topic. Could be to any, or actually to every topic. You could have a note on every topic in the mind map if you wanted to. Now notes enable you to put a lot of extra text beneath the surface of the mind map. What we want to try and do with mind maps is just stick to 2 or 3 kind of keywords in every topic. We want to avoid things like this. We want to avoid long sentences and big blocks of text in our mind maps. Because if you have too many topics in your mind map that are this kind of size, then pretty quickly your mind map is going to become quite hard to manage. You'll see if we just copy and paste that a lot of times, you'll see it's going to start becoming quite hard to actually clarify what information matters here. And with mind maps, what we're really looking to do is stick to just a few keywords. But sometimes we need to have full sentences. We need extra information. And that's where the topic notes come in handy. So what we can do here is say to insert a note And you see it just pops open this little dialog box here, and I can say add lots of extra information beneath the surface without cluttering up my mind map. Now, as you see here, I could have a lot of text in this note if I wanted to, so it could be really big. Perhaps you've copied a paragraph from an email. Perhaps you've taken a big chunk of text from a website that you want to keep nice and handy. But as soon as I click away from that, it's just hidden behind the surface in that topic using this notes feature. It's a really fantastic way to add a lot of extra detail to that's sort of hidden on your mind map, but really accessible. And if I click that, it just pops open the note and I can see, I can edit, I can change as I wish. So notes is a fantastic way to add that extra information, but still keep the surface of your mind map nice and easy to work with. Finally, another feature worth being aware of is the attachments feature in Xmind. And this is where you can not only link to other documents, but you can actually sort of attach them to the Xmind file. And that means if you then send that file to somebody else or share that file with others, all of those attached documents will go with it. Just like you attach documents to an email, you can attach other documents into the mind map. So here's an example where we've just said, let's attach another file. We can say to insert up here, attachment. And then, as I said earlier, we can say, let's attach that image. Maybe that's a graph from our local machine that's maybe saying this is our sales graph for 22 or something like that. So we can attach the image to the file. And then when we send that Xmind map to somebody else, or if they open it up, it's going to have that image actually attached to the mind map. So hyperlinks, notes, and attachments, 3 great ways to add a lot of information, extra information into your mind maps without overwhelming them, without making them unmanageable. A fantastic way to start building mind maps in Xmind that really become powerful ways to manage ideas and information. So that's a quick look at some of the core features of Xmind. There are many more features in the product, but it's this key set, this core set of features is where most people are going to get most value. You're going to get most value and most help from mind mapping by building maps, moving and reordering the information until it makes the most sense, being able to navigate your way around those maps efficiently. And then you're going to want to be able to format those maps, make them look and work the way you want them to. Use the images and markers in the mind maps to signal certain information in certain ways. Use relationships and boundaries in the mind map to, again, give yourself some visual signals of information that matters the most or ideas you want to develop further. And then use hyperlinks, notes, and attachments in your mind map to add huge depth and richness of information without getting overwhelmed by having too much on the screen at one time. So that's what I would tell you is probably the core 20 to 30% of the Xmind product, but I think that's where most people will get the most value. So before I go and have a look at some examples of Xmind maps for work, for study, and for home, I'm just going to pop back to the hop-in page here, check for any questions. I can see a question here that says, "Is this a live? Is this a live presentation?" Yes, it is a live presentation. This is Liam joining you live. I can show you it's live actually because I've got to share my screen slightly differently now. So this is me. Hi, I'm live, and I can share my full screen now. And what that's going to enable me to do, hopefully, is show you my clock down here on the bottom right side that says 2:30, and you'll see this lovely infinity screen. So let's get rid of that. So what we want to show you next is some example mind maps. So we're going to look at work, study, and home for our mind maps. So let's take a look in work. Now, work might be business, it could be government, you could be working at a school, doesn't really matter. The principles are the same. So there's many uses for mind mapping and Xmind in work context, but I'm just going to give you 3 here, sort of pretty simple ones. The first is kind of more creative brainstorming processes. So lots of people get very frustrated with brainstorming because it's quite often done very badly. Mind mapping doesn't create good brainstormers, but it's a very good tool to support brainstorming, and it can really help enable and make a brainstorming process a bit more effective than just sticking sticky notes everywhere. So an example of a mind map that you might use for creative brainstorming, and again, here's one of these little hyperlinks to a file. So if I click that hyperlink, it should pop open a different mind map here. that we might use for creative thinking. So I'm sure some of you will be familiar with the 6 thinking hats framework from Edward de Bono, and it's a really good way of just thinking creatively about a problem. So perhaps you update the map here and you say our problem is sales, for example. So you might then say, well, let's take an objective look at it. And you'll see the map here is just giving us lots of nice prompts to help our thinking. And you'll see here in the notes, we've actually, from this mind map, we've got a little bit more help. So whoever created this is a mind map downloaded from biggerplate.com. So somebody here has created a really nice guide in the mind map to help you with your prompts. And you'll see every topic here has got a little bit of guidance to help you. And as you brainstorm, you can just populate the map with my ideas. Maybe it's this, proof of something else maybe down here. So we can just use the map structure and this template to really build out our ideas and our information around any one of the headings that are created. Of course, we could choose to use some of those formatting options that I showed you earlier. Perhaps we want to make the 6 hat branches align with the color. So for example, on the green hat, let's have our branch be that nice green color. And maybe let's have our shapes always be a little bit more prominent. Maybe we can even go as far as going up. So we can start to format the images. We can start to format the map to align with whatever style we want. As I showed you earlier, lots of formatting options in the mind map to really personalize and really kind of make that mind map look and work the way you want it to. So we can play around with the structure, the formatting as much as we like, but really the key thing is we really want a mind map to just help us to brainstorm. So the structure and these simple questions just help to prompt us, and we can build out in the mind map as much as we like, just using those simple insert and return keys. And then, as we showed earlier, just moving information around the mind map if we want to. And as I said earlier, I'd always suggest keeping things closed when you're not looking at them. But the great thing is with the mind map is the ability, as I said earlier, to zoom in on some details or zoom out and look at the whole big picture. So creative brainstorming using Xmind is a great use of the mind mapping techniques and the Xmind software. And perhaps after you've done a creative brainstorm, you might actually start to figure out some projects that need to be initiated or worked on. So mind mapping software is used a huge amount in projects and planning. If you look on biggerplate.com, projects and planning are probably some of the biggest topics of interest on our website. We've got thousands of mind maps about projects and planning now. So it's a real strong use case for mind mapping. So again, a little hyperlink here to take us off to an example project plan. This is another mind map created by somebody else and shared on Biggerplate. So you can download this for free from biggerplate.com as well. And you see here somebody's just created a template mind map for our project planning. So we can open up these branches and you'll see we've got everything here from a bit of a risk management area over here where we could perhaps identify our risks. So maybe data is a risk, maybe politics might be a risk depending on where we are in the world and working. So all the mind map here is doing is giving us nice jumping off points. Now, the great thing with mind map templates is if you think perhaps a lot of this stuff is too much, you just delete it. And you maybe just do your own risk summary, not using these headings, but just say, here's the problem, and here's what we're going to do to mitigate. Meet with local leaders. Problem might be upcoming elections. Mitigation might be meet with local leaders, understand policy, for example. So we can just play with the mind map and the templates to help us, but the idea here again is to just use the mind map structure to help us plan out. Remembering, of course, that we could be using some of those task icons and priorities. So for example, we have here in the mind map, we've got some top priorities. So let's use those markers and start to mark our top priority. And then maybe we've got to do a task, which is set up town hall meeting. And that's where we might then start to use some of that progress icon to say, well, how far through that are we with the task? Now, here's where mind mapping for planning is so helpful, because what we actually start to do is break down the task into smaller component parts. So set up a town hall meeting. Maybe what we've got to do is find suitable venue, identify a date, and email guests, for example, just 3 kind of tasks. But let's say those are the 3 tasks involved in our town hall meeting. We can give each one of those a marker for progress. And then it just means with this little mini project here of setting up a town hall meeting, we can keep track of where we are with the task using these icons in Xmind. Maybe we're nearly done a date. We've not yet emailed any guests, but we can then say the task overall is perhaps sort of half done. So the mind map is really great at helping us to break down tasks and topics and projects into their component parts until really there's no further to go. And then once again, we can just hide what we don't need to see right now and come back to our overall project plan map and see where we are. For example, we might have a section over here around our goal 1, goal 2, etc. So the mind map can become a great summary for what's going on in our project. And of course, we could use those links and attachments to pull all of the essential project documents into this mind map. For example, perhaps we've got a document which is our risk catalog. Maybe we've done a Word document with all the risks, and we could just use that insert, the notes, or the attachments or the hyperlinks to say, let's attach another document here. And that's maybe our risk catalog that we want to put into the mind map. So project planning is another great use of mind mapping and Xmind in working context. And similar, bit of a sort of combination of the two really is something like strategic thinking. So if you need to pause, maybe you work by yourself or you're working with a group, using simple mind maps to brainstorm big strategic topics, for example, using something like a pestle analysis is another good way. That is quite often a good idea to do this, but it's often done badly. So people use flip charts or post-it notes, which aren't really very good in helping you create structure to all those ideas. So using a simple idea like a pestle analysis template, we could brainstorm around political, economic, social, technical, legal, and environmental. And we build out the mind map using all of those same features and functionality we did earlier to come up with a really good sort of strategic assessment of our current landscape in which we're operating. And again, all of these mind maps are available to download for free on biggerplate.com. So a couple of examples there of working mind maps, but what about those of you who are perhaps studying, or perhaps parents of students who are studying, or perhaps your teachers? Well, I tend to think of the studying uses of mind mapping in sort of 3 key areas. The first is note-taking. That can then lead nicely into subject summaries, and that can also then support really good written assignments. So examples of note-taking, this is again a mind map just downloaded from biggerplate.com. This is somebody's notes on the Roman Empire. Now, this is going to be quite a lot of information that you're going to see all at once, but this is just what somebody's used. You see there's a title here that says Day 2 Video. So obviously this person was watching a video, and as the video was playing, they were just capturing in this mind map as much as they could around the kind of key topics that they were seeing on the video as the video was unfolding. So you can see in the mind map here, I'm just going to switch off this setting that annoys me. Auto balance, there we go. So what that means is the map will keep a little bit more still, which is very helpful. But you can see here all this person is doing, they're not worrying too much about images and color. And you'll see actually they're writing quite long sentences, which is not necessarily what I'd recommend. But when you're note taking, that's maybe what you're just going to end up doing. But you'll see under a few key headings of conquest and these kind of things, this person's just been capturing a couple of key concepts as that session is happening. So again, the ability to just say, actually, that was part of the conquest. I'm going to move that up to there. Actually, this was something to do with there. So even as you're note taking, to be figuring out where things belong in the structure is very important. And what you can see here is this person has used, again, some of those markers in the mind map to make certain information stand out. So there's maybe a critical piece of information there that they want to remember. You can see there's a relationship line here talking about how this expansion in this area led perhaps or influenced or contributed to the decline that we've got some notes on about up there. So not the most exciting map to look at, but really well-structured information that's probably going to really help this person when they come back to remind themselves of this particular video, that particular lesson. So other uses of mind mapping. Once you've maybe done your note-taking, what you might do is take some time to create a slightly neater, tidier, and more visually interesting summary of a topic. So for example, here's a map about one of England's most famous kings, King Henry VIII, and he's famous because he had 6 wives and amongst other things. So this is where you might just create a slightly tidier mind map. You'll see we're just using a few keywords at a time here. We're not writing big long sentences, and what we've got here then is a nice simple summary of the key information related to this particular character, this particular person. Once again, you can see some of these other features that I mentioned here in the software. So here's that little symbol that signifies a website. So if I click that symbol, it's going to pop open here a Wikipedia page about this particular person. So it's exactly what I was showing you earlier around keeping the key information you need nice and easily available using the notes, or in this case, the hyperlinks feature. So you'll see another little hyperlink there. So what we've got here is the key information. The headlines are in the mind map, which we can hide that. But if we wanted to go into more depth and detail, we could go off to that particular website that's saved. Also, we could, if we went to that website, we might save or copy and paste all of that information from Wikipedia, for example, and come back and actually add that as a note, perhaps. So this is where we can start to really pull together a lot of information. And you see Xmind's changed here to tell us there's some notes and there's a hyperlink all attached to one topic. So any single topic in the mind map can have a huge richness of information, so that your summary mind map really contains everything you're going to need, perhaps to prepare for a test or an exam that's coming up. From summary mind maps, we might also go into written assignments. So perhaps building on our Henry VIII map, perhaps we've got a written assignment, which is to write about the key events of King Henry VIII's reign, as an example. And this is where you might start to use features like exporting to Word. So if we click to another mind map here, one of the big problems with written assignments, particularly for younger students, is they're not always very good at planning their writing. They tend to just start writing. Mind maps are a really good way of creating a basic outline of what you're going to talk about. And you can actually even see in the software, at one point, you can see an outline view if you so choose. Just using the software and popping open this outline view, you'll see we've got this kind of much more sort of linear document, and that's just reflecting the structure of the mind map. We had introduction, we had Catherine of Aragon, we have Anne Boleyn. If I go back to the mind map view, you see we had introduction, we had Catherine, and then we had Anne. So the mind map can help us to structure our ideas, and again, using that moving around, let's get things in the right order and make sure the right people are attached to the right things. So we use the mind map to structure our ideas and our information, and then if we want to, we could use that outline view, or if you're using the full version of Xmind, you can also actually push this entire mind map document into a Word document. And that means you've then really, in Word, just got to really focus on the editing and the spell checking. So I think that should have gone to my desktop here. Let's have a quick look. There you go. So here's our written document. So this is just gone clockwise around the Xmind map, and it's just given us that introduction. There's Catherine, and there's Anne, and so on and so forth. So now it just becomes about turning this into slightly better written prose. And you can see we've got really the structure is built into this document. Instead of just starting with a blank page, we've got something far more complete, far quicker. So finally, what about using Xmind at home? Well, there's some nice examples of mind mapping in the home on our Biggerplate that you can see, but some quick examples. You might use it for things like planning family events. So for example, here's a vacation planning mind map that you might create yourself, or you could even create with your family and start to think about where do we want to go. So you might have a section of kind of places of where to go. And you might be thinking Mexico, where I am right now, or you might be thinking maybe Italy, or you might be thinking somewhere further afield. So you could use this mind map to brainstorm and then also start to plan. What are we going to do? What are the highlights of our tour that we want to see? As well as thinking about some more practical information, maybe around visas. So you might save links to those key websites about visas. You might create an Excel spreadsheet about your money and attach that spreadsheet into the mind map, but use the mind map to brainstorm all the things you might need to budget for. So vacation planning or event planning, party planning is a really nice fun way to use mind mapping in the home context. Other things that sort of are a bit of an overlap between home and work are things like career planning or life planning, as some might call it. So you could use a mind map to brainstorm your current position in your career and your life, and where you are and what you want to do next. So again, this mind map is available from biggerplate.com, and you could use it to brainstorm where you are in your current role. What are the positives? What are the negatives? You might start to question some of those big things. What am I passionate about? What are my values? What are my goals? You could brainstorm your strengths. You could brainstorm your weaknesses, the things you want to work on. And if you're looking for perhaps for a new job, you start to think about, what does my ideal company look for? What's the culture? What are their priorities? Now, again, remember what I said earlier. You might take off some of these topics and you might add your own. You might say size of company is more important to you than where they're located, for example. So you can use this mind map to just brainstorm and just constantly develop and think about where you're trying to go with your career. Other types, a lot of people use mind mapping for sort of personal organization. So here's an example of how somebody's using a single mind map to kind of capture and organize all of the different things going on in their personal life, their working life. So under personal, for example, they've got things like their family as priority one, and then you'll see they've got a link to that family holiday map, so they could very quickly get to that family holiday map if they wanted to. But what we've also got are things like maybe marketing is their job. So they've got some tasks and some items here that they have to remember and think about. And then you've got over here, maybe their projects or key customers. So this person is using the mind map to really pull together and organize all of the many different things going on. And you can see how we can get really far down into the detail here in the mind map, as I showed earlier, and we can zoom in on something very small and detailed. But the minute we're finished, perhaps we complete that task and we say that's done, we can just close the branch down and zoom back out and start to look at perhaps some of those other client projects and start to open those up. So it's a nice example of how you can use a mind map in Xmind to really become your central personal organizer, keeping maybe some of your goals up here nice and visible and reminding yourself of what matters this week. So personal organization, maybe something using something like this or something much simpler just to plan out your week, is a great use of Xmind and mind mapping that sort of is as a bit of an overlap between home and work, but is a very, very powerful and popular use of this software. So that brings me, with a little bit of time to spare, to the conclusion of this session. I hope you found this to be a useful introduction to the world of Xmind. So conclusion comments, well, my hope is you will at very least join Biggerplate. Remember, it's free to access mind maps and to share your own mind maps. If you want to go further with Xmind, I'd really recommend you upgrade to Pro. It's very affordable and there's a huge range of resources in there. Over 200 webinar replays as well as live events. You'll also be able to get a discount on the Xmind software, by the way, if you sign up for Biggerplate Pro. And if you want to sign up for Biggerplate Pro and get a discount on that, there's the discount code you can use. I'll leave that on the screen for you now, as I jump across back to just have a look to see if there are any questions or comments or feedback at the moment. I can see a couple of comments about the hyperlinks. So hyperlinks can be used for websites. They can be used for files, so you can link to another document on your computer. But the really great use of the hyperlinks is really to kind of places where you're going to want to get to quickly. If, like me, you've maybe sometimes saved bookmarks in your browser and then forgotten, why did I save this bookmark? Why does this matter? Having those saved as hyperlinks in a mind map is a much tidier way, and it means that every hyperlink, every bookmark in your map kind of has some context. You understand why it's in the software, why it's in the map, rather than just a bookmark saved in your browser and thinking, why did I save that? What does that even relate to? So yes, hyperlinks to websites is really helpful, but actually what I find I use a lot myself is actually hyperlinking to other files on my computer. And again, that means I don't have to go searching in really deep folder structures. Sometimes the document I want is 5 or 6 levels in the file folder structure, whereas a hyperlink in my map will take me straight there, and that's really very helpful. So any questions about hyperlinks, please let me know. Xmind on mobile devices. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, there's a couple of questions around Xmind for Android, Xmind for iOS. As I said at the beginning, I'm not probably going to go too into the depths and the details of those. Our goal and role at Biggerplate is to really give people an overview of what's possible with the tool. In terms of synchronization between the different Xmind maps, it's really going to depend on kind of what you have set up. So slightly tricky one for me to answer quickly or easily. But as I said at the beginning, Xmind is one of very few mind mapping programs where they have got a full set of offerings across most, if not all, devices and platforms. So really worth having a look at what platforms you're using, what devices you're using, and then how your Xmind maps might synchronize across those if you need them to. Other questions coming in. What is Biggerplate Pro? Biggerplate Pro is our most people who sign up for Biggerplate. We have a community of nearly 250,000 members. Most of them use Biggerplate for free. They use Biggerplate to download mind maps and to share mind maps that they've created. So that's all free. Biggerplate Pro membership is where we have built a huge amount of extra resources to help people go further with whichever software they choose. So if you are new and using Xmind, you'll find in Biggerplate Pro areas that we've got huge numbers of webinar replays showing how people from all over the world are using Xmind. And we've also got courses that will take you step by step, nice and slowly through things like strategic planning with Xmind. So Biggerplate Pro is really what we suggest people take or use if they really want to build mind mapping into their working and their studying more comprehensively. It's just got a huge range of resources to help you go further with whichever mind mapping software you choose. So I hope that explains Biggerplate Pro. As you hopefully see on the screen, there's a nice little discount there. So it's a very affordable, and there's new resource being added every week to that. So well worth having a look. Other options here. There's questions I can see around Xmind versus some of the other mind mapping software products on the market. There are a lot of mind mapping products. Xmind, I can't really do a live comparison here with all of the other ones. There's simply too many. I can see the questions mentioning lots of different products. So I'm not going to try and do a comparison here. What I will just say as an overall view is Xmind has been one of the products we have been recommending for over 10 years. It's been very well developed for a very long time. There's a very credible company behind it, so you can be confident that the product isn't suddenly going to stop. They've been a partner with us for 10 years, over 10 years, as I said earlier. So Xmind is a product we have no hesitancy in recommending for people to try out. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better than some of the other products or worse. It's just one that we think is very strong. If you want to have a look at which mind mapping products we think are worth looking at, have a look on biggerplate.com, have a look at our partners. Companies, mind mapping software companies that are partners with Biggerplate tend to be, in our opinion, the companies that are most interested in actually helping their users. So Biggerplate partners tend to be, in our view, some of the higher quality mind mapping companies and products out there. And Xmind is certainly one of those top companies, and it's been, as I say, one of our top recommendations for many years. If you need any specific help, maybe choosing software or figuring out which software to go and have a look at, again, Biggerplate helps people to figure these things out as well. So if you want to contact us, we also have helped lots of companies to evaluate different software depending on what they're trying to achieve. So please do let us know if that's something we can help with. I can't see any different or new questions coming up at the moment. So I think probably, unless there's anything particularly new coming in, I can't see anything at the moment. I'm going to just say then, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope this has been a useful introduction to Xmind, and hopefully you've been able to see what's possible with this really fantastic software. As I said, it really is one of the best products out there and has been for a long time. It's always developing, always improving, and I think it's a great way to start, particularly for new mind mappers exploring the world of mind mapping tools. So in the absence of any new questions, I'll say thank you very much once again for joining me today. If you have any follow-up questions, comments or feedback, please feel free to email us at biggerplate.com. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best with your mind mapping.